Welcome to Solo, the single person's guide to a remarkable life. Your host, a behavioral scientist and bachelor, talks to leading experts and successful singles about living solo and living well. Travel more, make things, sleep in when you want to. Here's the playbook for the person who is unapologetically unattached. Now, please welcome Dr. Peter McGraw.
Welcome back to the second part of a conversation with Chester C. and Darwyn Metzger. If you want more of this conversation and are a member of the private solo community, check out the bonus material in which we discuss alcohol. You can apply to be part of the solo community at petermcgraw.org/solo. Finally, I know that some of you don't review things. To be honest, I rarely do. But if you think the podcast will be helpful to your fellow singles, please rate and review the podcast on whatever platform you use, the two most important being iTunes and Amazon. Reviews help others discover the podcast. Thank you for that. I hope you enjoyed part 2 of this wonderful conversation. Let's get started. We've spent a lot of time on the foundational stuff. Let's talk about the flourishing side of things. And I'm eager to talk to both of you because you're both flourishing. So there are 3 ways that you can flourish according to this model. The first one is through purpose. And we know this because the pursuit of meaning or the pursuit of achievement is often top of mind when it comes to people who are thriving, who are living remarkable lives. So the way I think of this is, are you doing something bigger than yourself that helps others? That's a pursuit of meaning. So the work that Darwyn does with Miracle Messages, for example, is a meaningful endeavor in his life. Achievement is to do something bigger than yourself, but do it for the self. Mm-hmm. Right? So that could be, I'm going to get a PhD, an MBA. I'm going to build a business. Whatever that might. I'm going to win gold medals and so on. So under purpose, meaning, or achievement, and they could go hand in hand. So you could, for example, this is a controversial saying, but you could build a business that makes you fabulously wealthy, but also makes the world a better place.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's the first one. The second one is not about outcomes, which purpose is, but rather about process. This is what I would call engagement. So a pursuit of flow, solving problems, creative endeavors. So when you, Chester, write music or working on a screenplay, you're engaged in a creative process, and that it can light you up. It can create this flow state, even if you never put the music on Spotify, even if you never sell the screenplay. You do it because it compels you to do this. And then the last one is, and this may seem a little bit counterintuitive, but the research bears it out, and that is the pursuit of positive emotions. That is, that we are living lives that are delightful, that are filled with laughs, perhaps orgasms, as we were talking earlier. Good food, good company, the goodness of life. So that could be amusement, it could be pride, it could be joy, and so on. And we know that positive emotions help us flourish because they fuel our immune systems. They help us with creativity. They help us be better people in that sense. And what I like about this is there's no one remarkable life. There are just remarkable lives. It's a matter of it matching up. And then the other one is this also is fluid. That what makes you flourish, like what made me flourish at age 27 was achievement. It was about getting a PhD and about playing a sport at an incredibly high level. That has now turned more into purpose, for example, with the solo project. And so on. So it can change. So someone can have kids where meaning crowds out almost everything else. Then they become an empty nester and they decide they're going to go with their partner and travel the world and go to Tuscany and eat great food and so on, where then suddenly they're leaning into the positive emotions. And so again, what I'm looking for from you folks are your reactions to these ideas. And then I'm also just curious, how do you see yourself fitting with these different paths to flourishing?
In talking to a lot of my friends too about what it is that they find that provides them with purpose. For one, you don't need to have, I don't think that you necessarily need to have something that you need to know what your purpose is at any, sometimes you don't.
And according to this model, you don't even need purpose necessarily. That's just one of the ways to do it, although it's a common one.
So the first three that you listed for me get fulfilled with one thing.
Okay.
Which is the songwriting part of it. There's a lot of songs that I've written because that connect with people in a way. Like I'll get messages every single day on a few different songs where there's messages coming through literally every single day, every few hours, where it's bringing them comfort. Mm-hmm. And so I do have the sensation and feeling that is for others.
Okay.
At the same time, I'm feeling fulfilled in my in achievement because of it gives me a sensation.
You made something great.
I made something, and then obviously it's a part of the process for me, in the creative process, and so I feel like I can tap into a lot of those as a musician that is writing songs that, for whatever reason, end up connecting with a large group of people and bringing them some version of.
Clearly, when you're working on the song, right, you become immersed. You have this what we call flow state, right? Time melts away and so on. When you're working on a song, do you know it's going to hit? Do you know it's going to be meaningful, or is this something you get to discover later?
So what I've realized is that it's always the songs that I'm writing that are for me. So it's the songs that I'm writing for me, authentically for me, like that end up being the ones that relate the most for other people. Because I think people, like you said, we can sniff through. We know the difference between authenticity and what is not. If I were to sit down and be like, oh, I want to write a song that says this for whatever reason. Oh, I want to write a love song today, right? That's very different than an intention of saying, oh, I've got to write a song about this girl because it's killing me. And I gotta say this too. I wish I could say these words to her. How do I convey this to her with this elevated language that is music? And when I do that with that true intention, that's when that song ends up being more relatable. The song that I wrote more recently that is connecting with a lot of people is a song that I wrote. I realized I wanted to write a song for my own funeral. Like if I were going to pass away, when, well, science, who knows? But after I'm gone, I can't write the song anymore. So I better write it now. So I was writing a song that was for my own funeral, from that perspective, truly. And at this stage, I imagine it's been played at hundreds of funerals. What's
the name of the song?
Even Though I'm Gone.
Okay.
It's very powerful. And again, I hope you insert a little excerpt from the song right here, because it's really a magical song. And it's really a gift to people who are going through this obviously very, very rough time. And you'll get a sense when you listen to it that you could imagine this helping people process and mourn death in a really powerful way.
Time is a funny thing. I think that everything, it's still happening, just in a different place. Things don't disappear just 'cause the view changed. So think of when we both had us alive, and I promise you that we're still laughing right now. We're still laughing right now. So trust me when I say that I'm at peace. Every little flame goes out eventually. Though I'm already gone, I'm still the words I left behind. I'm still a memory to make you smile, and those will be there for a while. Though I'm already gone, when you look up to the sky, just find a star that's shining bright, and know I'm right there by your side. I'm still with you, even though I'm gone.
The very first thing that you had mentioned, right? Doing something that is for
bigger
others,
than yourself for others, or bigger than yourself for yourself.
I will say that there is a part of me that doesn't feel like that completely fills that.
Uh-huh.
I'm meeting up with Seth. I feel like we're pitching the charities now, but I'm meeting up with Seth, who is the founder of Thirst Project, which is a organization that builds wells in parts of the world where they don't have access to clean drinking water. And I was attaching myself to that a few years back and really trying to build something around that. And I do, it's like this, it's this thing that I know I have dropped the ball on. And there is something about a more direct line of knowing my actions with intention are directly helping people that fulfills more so than me writing something for myself where a beneficial outcome is I see that there is a response from others, whether it's brought them comfort.
I see.
There's a different feeling I have for those two things. And so I do feel like I'm lacking in that sense. And I do feel like I am living a more, what's the phrase that you use?
Flourishing.
Remarkable life.
Yes, remarkable life.
When I am balancing those things a little bit better. And that happens when I am attached to that, doing something like actually helping build wells in parts of the world where they don't have access to clean drinking water. That for me, I don't know how to describe the feeling, but it does feel like my actions are more, I don't know how to put it. There's something about knowing that is there, right? Where it all, because there's a part of me that wonders if it's almost a cop out sometimes to say, oh yeah, look at the response on these songs. It's helping people, right? I don't know. It's different.
Wait, why would you say it's a cop out? I don't understand that.
Because it's not attached to the intention. And so there is something about doing something with intention and knowing that the outcome of the intention is directly going to affect people in a meaningful way. And I'm all about it doesn't have to be like building wells. It could even be doing something for somebody, that day, one person, buying a meal for someone that needed it or volunteering and spending some time doing some volunteer work for them.
Sure.
That is, for me, I think that's extremely important, where I'm going to do something, my actions are directly linked to an outcome that I can see is making a positive outcome. And not to get too long-winded on this, but as we brought up the Maslow hierarchy of needs, the reason I attached myself to the wells is because I think that things get really complicated as soon as we start saying, oh, I'm making the world a better place, or I'm helping the world, or I'm doing something for others. If we get beyond that lower rung, it gets complicated very fast. I don't know necessarily if my actions are making the world a better place, if I'm building a school even, right? It becomes complex.
Yeah, but are you afraid am I indoctrinating them? Am I switching the way that... Yeah, no, very fair, very fair.
I don't know.
But everybody needs clean water.
Yeah,
everybody needs food, everybody needs water, everybody needs shelter.
Exactly. And there's no need for somebody to die from dysentery because they didn't have access. So yeah, the more I've thought about it, the more I've looked into this. I do think that we get tricked a lot of times. A lot of times we think we're doing something positive for the world. If once it's too big and it's too complex, we have a tendency, at least, okay, I'll speak for myself. I have in the past had a tendency to pat myself on the back because I donated money to a charity or something, and I have no idea where the money went. I don't even know how much money is going toward the logistics of it, or the employees are getting paid, or like what's actually happening, what's the actual outcome of that. And I think that's just a way to sort of turn my head and not truly be connected to my actions as I try to do something that benefits others.
Before we get into yours, Darwyn, I want to ask you a question about what Chester just said from your perspective. It sounds to me, Chester, that you're saying that you may write a song that creates meaning. You might help build a well that creates meaning. And it seems to me that you're seeing those as slightly different.
Yes.
And so, Darwyn, do you think of them as different?
Yeah, I think version 1 is helping people in the abstract, which is he's created a piece of art that on a very scalable level might help people deal in an abstract way with their life and improve their life. Category 2 is he's helping people in a very specific, objective, tactile, concrete way. Oh, you didn't have clean water before. Now you have clean water. And I think what I hear listening to Chester is where he feels often most fulfilled in serving a mission is where whatever work he has done, it's with that person in the moment, and he gets to see the immediate reaction and benefit from his volunteering or his philanthropy. And I think this makes a lot of sense. I don't necessarily, I don't sort of split everything up along those same categories. I think help is help. I think Chester's point about when you go above the bottom rung of Maslow's hierarchy, I think I agree that it can become very, very sticky. And I think when I sort of think back about most of my volunteer work, it definitely is with that bottom tier, with the exception of relationships. Again, not only a big part of my work with Miracle Messages, but I also mentor what they call a little with Big Brother, Big Sister. And in both of these examples, my job is to build connection. I'm not exactly sure where on the hierarchy connection is, but I don't ever do it from the stance of, I need to change them. It's, I will accept you how you are. You're going to get to learn who I am. And if you see something in my life that interests you and you want help to try to figure out how you could participate in that way in your own life, I'm happy to do that. But I have no problem with you being exactly who you are today.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's just coincidence that both of you have a big M with regard to your flourishing. I'm glad that you do, because I think that we need examples of people who do this. I'll be really very honest. The M part of my flourishing is a relatively recent phenomenon. The early part of my life, I was just in the foundation. I was just struggling to take care of myself. I couldn't even think beyond that. And when I did, it still was self-focused. It was achievement-focused. And so I think it's helpful because a lot of times people, the work that they do, the charity work that they do, the good people, they don't advertise it. They don't talk about it. And yet we need to hear that folks are involved in these kinds of things because it can be inspirational.
I've always been torn by that. Always been torn by that. Where, because you see people post where they are recording themselves, giving somebody,
we're talking
money
about Instagram right now.
On the street.
They're tourists. They're just total clowns.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
And they monetize it. And at the end of the day, as I'm analyzing it, the true outcome is, if it helps other people reanalyze their own, like, are they giving back and does it make them feel good? Like, okay, it's probably better that it is shown, right? It probably is better that it's shown. And the fact that I have this weird feely and icky feel, of course, because we can see the ill intent, like we can see that it's not genuine, right?
Yeah,
we can
the utilitarian in me says, okay, that was a net positive experience.
That's what I mean. This is
the
a great
Kantian version of me is cringy.
We're on the exact same page. So so I've always struggled with that. So because I struggle with myself, where I'm posting when I post, for instance, one of my favorite charities that I try to always join. So it's only every 3 months, and it takes a few hours every 3 months. It's called the Compton Initiative.
Okay.
And every 3 months, basically, I drive down to Compton and I just stand. They tell me what to do for 5-6 hours, whatever. And a lot of it's just painting murals or cleaning up garbage or doing yard work. It's all set up. It's set up so easy. It's great.
Turnkey.
And it's perfect. So you show up, do some work. And I'm like, okay, well, of course it's better for me to promote. In fact, I've gone there and I've met people that have said, I'm here because I saw you post about this. I've had friends that reach out to me and go, hey, what is that thing you're doing? Please let me know. I would like to go next time. But before I post, I always have this feeling like, am I that douchebag?
Well, here's the thing. If you have the feeling, you're not.
You're not. You have self-awareness. Exactly.
Well, okay.
If you have the twinge, you're not.
Yeah. I think if you're excited, I can't wait to post and see how people
this is going to get a ton of likes.
I wonder how many comments I'm going to get.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a spectrum there, but yes, you're not wrong. But that is something I've always struggled with.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. So for you, Darwyn, you flourish how?
I think for me, it starts with process and my daily work around flow. And I have a lot of freedom and autonomy. So some of the things that I'm going to mention, I understand many people are not going to be able to set their day like this because they have commitments like children or a traditional 9-to-5.
Mm-hmm.
I start my day by waking up when I feel fully rested, not to an alarm, not to a schedule. I've scheduled my day so that all of my meetings or things that have to be done at a certain time are going to happen well after that moment. Most of my day, I get to eat when I'm hungry. If I need additional rest, I can take it. I get great fitness. All of my personal needs are well taken care of because I do subscribe to the model of I can't put my oxygen mask on anyone else until I have it on my mouth first. So for starters, I have a day that completely fulfills my needs. And because of that, I have all of this extra emotional and physical bandwidth to take care of other people. And that in some ways can be contributing to other greater missions or to other greater achievements. And if I don't take care of those needs first, if I don't feel fully rested, if I don't feel like I've had good food, good fitness, or the other things I need to thrive, I just want to sort of get in the fetal position and sort of shy away from diving into other projects. But because I feel so good, I have more ability to, I think, help elevate other people if that's what, what the day or week calls for. So I think that's the first part. In terms of achievement and mission, I never get caught up in having a really specific concrete goal that's 5 years or 10 years down the road. I just like seeing progress. And so for my missions, I just want to see that I'm getting closer and closer with my little. I just want to see with my work with Miracle Messages that as an organization, we are becoming a more important part of the ecosystem of helping reunite families. And we can measure that objectively in numbers of families that we've reunited, or other types of work that we're doing. But I don't have this idea of, I have to do X, Y, or Z at a specific time and date. And if I didn't achieve that goal, then my mission work was a failure or my achievements were a failure. Beyond that, I just tend to do things that I think are interesting. And if that leads to achievement, which it often has, then so be it. But I'm not doing it because I'm trying to think of achievement. I don't need medals. Very, sort of infamously, my company will not accept any sort of awards. We do not apply for awards. And when given awards, we generally deter.
Yeah. Well, your company's called Phantom.
Yeah.
And it has multiple meanings. And one is it's almost impossible to figure out what Phantom does.
God bless it.
Phantom does not have a publicist, does not do media.
Correct. We don't even have a sales team. We don't market ourselves. That's right. You either know about us or you do not.
Yes, that's right.
And only the cool people know about it.
Yeah. No, look, he didn't even have a website for years. So Darwyn introduced me to, labeled something that I had been doing for years called Schmonday, the word Monday with an S in front of it. And
no, there's a C in there. It's an SCH.
Yeah, I was about to say. I was like,
Monday.
I was like, that's Monday.
It's Schmonday. SCH Monday. Thank you.
I spell it Monday, capital S, capital M-O-N-D-A-Y.
And he wears shorts, folks. He wears shorts. So who's right?
I rarely wear shorts. So thank you for making me regret this. Or actually, thank you for doing this because it will get me back to stop backsliding. A lot of people, successful people, they fight what's called the Sunday scaries, which is they kickstart their work week Sunday late afternoon, early evening, knock out some email, take care of some busy work so that Monday morning you can do the most important work, the creative work there. And during my time in Los Angeles, Darwyn's been very kind to let me come over for Schmonday and hang out in his apartment. And so and this is sort of work time. It's half social, half work time when the two of us are there, or more. Sometimes there's 3 or 4 people. It's really fun to see how he works because all of the foundational stuff is very clear. But what Darwyn likes to do, and I hate to out you for this, is he loves to hack things. Uh-huh. He's a professional decoder.
Oh, he's the best. He's the best at this that I know.
He's the most. I say this is not hyperbolic. Darwyn is the most creative person I've ever met. Not the smartest, but
we already knew that.
But the most creative, and it's because it's not that he's good at solving problems. He loves at solving problems. He loves solving puzzles, and then he uses that knowledge to achieve, to help others. Mm-hmm. Right? For any number of things. But what really lights him up is not the investment he makes or the project that he's finished. It's the insights that he's having. You were talking about that earlier. You have this process to make yourself feel really good during the day, but then you just have this process that pays all these other dividends. And it's the process that lights you up. It's that engagement side of things. It's akin to you writing a song, right? To write a song is to solve 1,000 problems. And for you have 1,000 problems that you're solving 1,000 different ways.
But a girl ain't one.
I've heard Eminem talk about that, basically describe his brain as constantly thinking in raps, that no matter what the situation is, he starts to think in raps. And I bet Chester in some way has a similar process where everything he's doing, he could see the song or the music in that moment. For me, I can't help but think in terms of like marketing, monetization, and decoding. No matter what I'm doing, it's completely natural. While we've had this conversation, I have had 25 separate side conversations with myself about things in your apartment and how I would organize them, about ideas I have for Chester, ideas I have for you for future podcasts. It's a little
Rayman like.
I have one. Yeah. I have one for you for this podcast. One that just popped in my head.
We'll take care of this.
More bourbon.
No, I was like, I might like send you some mic stands. That was the only thought.
I kind of like holding the mic up.
Really? I did, because I was like, they're not expired.
We have seen this up close where Darwyn he just notices things that other people don't notice. And what's really nice about it is it's a blessing, not a curse, right? It doesn't, it makes your world a better place. I'm sure there are times where you want to shut down a little bit. And maybe that's what cannabis is for. But, right, to switch off. Like, I have a hard time switching off. But I think it's an amazing skill to have, but it's one that you've cultivated and that you give yourself space to be able to notice.
If I was trying to cram as many little tasks into my day as possible, there's no way that I could take enough time to read or to listen or to think. And it's one of the reasons why I like Shmonday. Because while we are working, we are doing it at a pace where our brain is able to think in a creative manner. We're not on deadline. It's Sunday. The world is essentially closed.
You don't have to be doing what you're doing.
That's right.
Yeah.
And there's not 20 people trying to call you at the same time. And sometimes, on Monday, you start sending emails and you get 2 emails come in for every email that you've responded to. And that makes it really tough to slow down enough to start to see connections. I do think that you're right. The THC does help slow me down eventually, because you can't do this for too long. If at some point where my day usually ends during the week is I'm at the end of all of these little different dots I'm trying to connect. I've solved as many as I can, and now I need to fall asleep. And what I think happens to me a lot, and I bet happens to both of you, whether you realize it or not, is while I'm sleeping, all of the dots that I could not connect while I was consciously awake, my brain starts to go through the process to connect them. And I will wake up from dreams all the time where I am replaying the same scenario 10 or 20 different times until my mind finds a conclusion that it's satisfied with. And then I will wake up and that conclusion will come to me. And I think most people have something like this that happens to them. I just think because I've given myself enough space for this process to really unfold, it probably happens to me with greater frequency. But if you were just trying to pile on to your day and you didn't give yourself any rhythm, I just think you're selling yourself short.
We have different worlds. I'm not. My struggle has been I don't have dots to cross. I don't have dots to lay down or T's to cross.
I think you have so many dots to connect and so many T's to cross.
With no pressure.
Sure.
There's no email.
Sure. Fair enough. That's fair enough.
Yeah,
there are pressures in my day, Chester, that Chester does not have.
You, even though you have this freedom, you still have deadlines and you have meetings and you have business activities. Chester, your life is more that of the pure artist. You have a studio, but do you? If you decide not to go to the studio for the day, does anyone notice?
Well, he's even more untethered than a standard artist because he's done so well that he could sort of just mail it in if that's what he wanted to do. Whereas most artists are starving.
Yes.
Well, no, there's no studio time or. I don't know why we're diving into this, but you would think it sounds great, but in the last, it feels like 5 years, for lack of a better way of describing it, I feel like I've been retired. And so, I dive into something artistic because I'll try to create a goal because I need to. I've had moments where, I'm calling up friends like, hey, let's go to the batting cages. It's like, or let's go to Mexico.
You're like, it's Wednesday at 10 a.m., dude.
Exactly. And I'm like, okay. All right. And then I'll,
I'm being facetious here. For some people, you know what it is that provides that structure?
A wife.
A relationship.
A relationship and a child.
This is what I need. Yeah. Look, I think.
By the way, that's not the right reason to do it.
No, it is definitely not.
But
definitely,
it would do it.
Yeah. No, it was one of the mistakes I've made in that past relationship was I made her the center of my time. I put my purpose. she was my purpose in my mind, and I didn't even do it well. I'm calling myself out on that relationship. Like I have there's blame to go all around, but I think in the way the Superior Man sort of points this out, and I agree. Where if you put your actual essence, your purpose on the back burner, and you make your relationship about them, it's the wrong move. Like that's actually not an attractive trait. And I get that now. I don't think I really truly understood it in the past, because it's you want someone to be passionate about something you want someone to be achieving or like striving to achieve a goal or that they're passionate about. And I think it's probably very overwhelming if someone is focusing in on you as their number one thing. That sounds romantic when you're 14, but it's not actually the same. And
in your case, it's first of all, love is a powerful idea, especially this particular form of love. And then if you also are in a state in life where you're untethered, then you put those two together, and then it's easy for that person to become the focus, and it's easy for it to be a little bit much.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah. That's a good topic though, that should be its own episode, by the way. I think there's a lot to unpack there, I think.
Oh yeah.
With just the idea, like how to deal with that relationship or a relationship, and
especially if you want to maintain some wholeness while with that person. There aren't good models, right? There aren't good models for relationships in which both people view themselves as whole and complete. I mean, it does exist. It's called friendships.
Right.
Yeah, that's interesting.
But it doesn't, they're not good models for romantic relationships.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example of this. I talk about it a lot. So this idea of merging is so powerful.
Sorry.
No problem. These guys are playing
our foot's touched. So I just want to make sure
you
Darwyn
love each other. It's okay.
I wasn't sending him any kind of romantic signal.
I mean, I enjoyed it. It's fine.
This idea of merging is so powerful, right? You're supposed to become intertwined. I call it the benefication of a relationship, right? You know, not only is it that your lives become intertwined, you live together, but your identities do.
Yeah.
You know, you're not Ben and Jennifer, you're Benifer. and
or
so,
Jen. It's not as good.
That's bad. But you know, and so what ends up happening for those type 4s, right? For the unconventional folks, people who diverge from the relationship escalator, at best, people respond with curiosity, maybe a tinge of jealousy, but most of the time they judge you negatively. Wait, what do you mean you don't live with your husband? Right? You know, so right? So the expectation is that you are enmeshed with each other.
Yeah.
And if you don't do that, you're at best a sideshow.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Right? You know what I mean? I've talked about this on the podcast before. I'll bring this up again. I have 2 friends. They're married. Their relationships are healthy and good. They sleep in the same bed. So it's not even like they're in different beds or different rooms, but they use different blankets because one of them's a hot sleeper and one of them's a cool sleeper. And one of them, her mother, thinks it's strange that they have different blankets. It's not even okay.
That's wild because it's
right?
pretty.
Oh my God, you're not sharing the same blanket. Like in some way, that's a weird indictment of their closeness, their love or whatever.
Because you think it'd be pretty easy to understand. You're like, someone sleeps better.
You're supposed to sacrifice for the relationship. Right?
Wait until she finds out they wear different underwear.
Oh wait, you know what she could design is like a half comforter, half sheet sort of thing. You know.
But my point is, but my point is, we don't have good role models. In part because if you are like that. If you live apart together or you sleep in separate rooms, that doesn't come up at the dinner party because people feel embarrassed. They feel weird about it because it's unconventional. It's deviant. It's strange.
My buddy just told me that he sleeps in the other room.
And what did you think of that when he said?
I've heard him snore, and I was like, I get it.
There you go.
Honestly, at the end of the day, people need to sleep. And, you know, it's like you can be intimate and I'm a cuddler, right? But for whatever reason, I get if you're not a cuddler, It's like, don't touch me. I need to sleep. I can totally understand that.
It doesn't mean I'm not a cuddler. I'm a cuddler up until the moment that I'm going to go to sleep.
No, I want the whole time.
Look, my initial reaction if somebody were to tell me they sleep in 2 different bedrooms is at first I'm like, I wonder if everything's okay in their relationship.
Yes.
But then what I remind myself is that how many completely unhappy people sleep in the same bed and realize, that has nothing to do with one another.
That's right. And might they be happier?
Yeah, exactly.
If they slept in the same.
That's true too.
Excuse me. Might they be happier if they slept in different beds?
Yeah, I think the weirdest thing about modern society is how hard it is for people to be happy for someone else who is happy in a manner that it's not how they would feel happy.
Oh, because we're always projecting, just constantly.
But why does it matter so much to us what everyone else is doing in their privacy?
Because we need validation for our own interpretation of the ways things are. We need, as we walk through this world, I need to know that, I'm doing it right. And if I see that you're doing it differently, I get a little confused.
I think we're too worried about trying to copy one another, and then we get mad when we're not being copied.
There's a lot of status games being played out there.
Amen.
All right. This has been a wonderful conversation. We didn't get all the way through the poo-poo platter, but I'm going to make one request of the two of you. I'm going to leave this in as a teaser. We're going to wrap this up. I'm going to do a quick little bit of bonus material for the Solo Slack channel. People can sign up for the community at petermcgraw.org/solo. You get access to this little bit of extra information. Ooh. And we are going to talk for just a few minutes about alcohol.
Oh, that's a good teaser.
All right, we're going to talk about alcohol. Okay. I'm looking at Chester as I say this. So, with that, I want to say, Darwyn, Chester, thank you for doing everything that I asked you to do with this, which was to indulge me as I run some ideas by you.
I don't understand the whole not wear pants thing, but it is, you ask, we do.
I asked you to be fun. And I also asked you to be authentic. And so I thank you for both how delightful you were, but also how vulnerable both of you were.
Oh, thank you.
My pleasure, Pete. Thank you for having us.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you for listening to Solo, the single person's guide to a remarkable life. For more about our guests and show notes, go to petermcgraw.org. Please subscribe and share with your single friends.